One of the things I love about this is that I am still drunk and I'm still doing this, so we might as well just continue on. We just finished chapter 1, which was Engaged, talking about Bella's engagement. Chapter 2, Long Night. I miss you already. I don't need to leave. I can stay. Oh my god. So the first 3 lines, we don't know who's talking, okay? But we know that Bella is narrating the book, so good lord, oh my god, it just, oh, it just makes me so happy. God, the writing in this book makes me so happy. This is just, it's crap. I miss you already. I don't need to leave. I can stay. It was quiet for a long moment, just the thud of my heart hammering, the broken rhythm of our ragged breathing, and the whisper of our lips smoothing in synchronization. Thank you, Stephanie Meyer. Thank you, beer. Do this. You will not regret. Sometimes it was so easy to forget that I was kissing a vampire. Not because he seemed ordinary or human. I could never for a second forget that I was holding someone more angel than man in my arms. But because he made it seem like nothing at all to have his lips against my lips, my face, my throat. He claimed he was long past the temptation my blood used to be for him, that the idea of losing me had cured him of any desire for it, but I knew the smell of my blood still caused him pain. Still burned his throat, like he was inhaling flames. I opened my eyes, and found his open too, staring at my face. It made no sense when he looked at me that way, like I was the prize, rather than the outrageously lucky winner. God, this is awful. God, this is awful. Our gazes locked for a moment. His golden eyes were so deep that I imagined I could see all the way into his soul. It seemed silly that this fact, the existence of his soul, had ever been in question, even if he was a vampire. He had the most beautiful soul, more beautiful than his brilliant mind or his incomparable face or his glorious body. He looked back. He looked back at me as if he could see my soul too, and as if he liked what he saw. He couldn't see into my mind, though, the way he saw into everyone else's. Who knew why? Some strange glitch in my brain that made it immune to all the extraordinary and frightening things some immortals could do. Only my mind was immune. My body was still subject to vampires with abilities that worked in ways other than Edward's. Whoa, wait a minute, that implication! Oh my god! My body was still subject to vampires with abilities that worked in ways other than Edward's. That came out so wrong. That came out really wrong. Holy shit, her body just like is... Okay. Oh. Right on. But I was seriously grateful to whatever malfunction it was that kept my thoughts a secret. It was just too embarrassing to consider the alternative. I pulled his face to mine again. Definitely staying, he said a moment later. No, it's your bachelor party. You have to go. I said the words, but the fingers of my right hand locked into his bronze hair. My left hand pressed tighter against the small of his back. His cool hand stroked my face. Bachelor parties are designed for those who are sad to see the passing of their single days. I couldn't be more eager to have mine behind me, so there's really no point. True. I breathed against the winter-cold skin of his throat. This was pretty close to my happy place. Charlie slept obliviously in his room, which was almost as good as being alone. We were curled up on my small bed, intertwined as much as it was possible, considering the thick afghan I was swathed in like a cocoon. I hated the necessity of the blanket, but it sort of ruined the romance when my teeth started chattering. Charlie would notice if I turned the heat on in August. Considering this is Forks, Washington, it might not be so much of a stretch to turn on the heat in August. I'm just saying, having lived in Washington State, it's not that big of a stretch. At least, if I had to be bundled up, Edward's shirt was on the floor. Oh, baby. At least if I had to be bundled up, Edward's shirt was on the floor. I never got over the shock of how perfect his body was. White, cool, and polished as marble. I ran my hand down his stone chest now, tracing across the... I have come across a quandary. I ran my hand down his stone chest now, implying that this is happening in the immediate, versus everything else that is talking about this in the past tense. Tense changes piss me off. I ran my hand down his chest now, tracing across the flat plains of his stomach, just marveling. A light shudder rippled through him, and his mouth found mine again. Carefully, I let the tip of my tongue press against his glass, smooth lip, and he sighed. His sweet breath washed, cold and delicious, over my face. He started to pull away. That was his automatic response whenever he decided things had gone too far. His reflex reaction whenever he most wanted to keep going. Edward had spent most of his life rejecting any kind of physical gratification. I knew it was terrifying to him trying to change those habits now. Wait, I said, gripping his shoulders and hugging myself close to him. I kicked one leg free and wrapped it around his waist. Practice makes perfect. He chuckled. Well, we should be fairly close to perfection by this point then, shouldn't we? Have you slept at all in the last month? But this is just dress rehearsal, I reminded him. We've only practiced certain scenes. It's no time for playing safe. I thought he would laugh, but he didn't answer, and his body was motionless with sudden stress. The gold in his eyes seemed to harden from liquid to solid. The gold in his eyes seemed to harden from liquid to solid. It's a really nice way of avoiding the phrase, he got an erection. Just saying. I'm just saying. He wants to do her. I thought over my words, realized what he would have heard in them. Bella, he whispered. Don't start this again, I said. A deal is a deal. I don't know. It's too hard to concentrate when you're with me like this. I can't think straight. I won't be able to control myself. You'll get hurt. I'll be fine. Bella. Shh. I pressed my lips to his to stop his panic attack. I'd heard it before. He wasn't getting out of this deal, not after insisting I marry him first. He kissed me back for a moment, but I could tell he wasn't as into it as before. Worrying. Always worrying. How different it would be when he didn't need to worry about me anymore. What would he do with all his free time? He'd have to get a new hobby. How are your feet? He asked. Knowing he didn't mean that literally, I answered, toasty warm. Really? No second thoughts? It's not too late to change your mind? Are you trying to ditch me? He chuckled. Just making sure. I don't want you to do anything you're not sure about. I'm sure about you. The rest I can live through. He hesitated, and I wondered if I put my foot in my mouth again. Can you? He asked quietly. I don't mean the wedding, which I am positive you will survive despite your qualms, but afterward. What about Renee? What about Charlie? I sighed. I'll miss them. Worse, they would miss me, but I didn't want to give him any fuel. Angela, and Ben, and Jessica, and Mike. I'll miss my friends, too. I smiled in the darkness. Especially Mike. Oh, Mike! How will I go on? He growled. I laughed, but then was serious. Edward, we've been through this and through this. I know it will be hard, but this is what I want. I want you, and I want you forever. One lifetime is simply not enough for me. Frozen forever at 18, he whispered. Every woman's dream come true, I teased. Never changing, never moving forward. What does that mean? He answered slowly. Do you remember when we told Charlie we were getting married, and he thought you were pregnant? And he thought about shooting you, I guessed with a laugh. Admit it, for 1 second he honestly considered it. He didn't answer. What, Edward? I just wish... Well, I wish that he'd been right. Gah! I gasped. Why is she... She keeps making, I wonder if Stephanie Meyer knows what a gasp is, because she keeps... But she keeps, like, at the same time, like, earlier in the story she said, arg, but she gasped, and then she spoke an actual sentence, but she gasped, and now she's going, gah, but she's gasping, so it's like, gah. I don't even know how to talk like that. How the hell does anybody talk like they're gasping? So, Edward wishes that Charlie was right. More than that, there was some way he could have been. That we had that kind of potential. I hate taking that away from you. It took me a minute. I know what I'm doing. How could you know that, Bella? Look at my mother. Look at my sister. It's not as easy a sacrifice as you imagine. Esme and Rosalie get by just fine. If it's a problem later, we can do what Esme did. We'll adopt. He sighed, and then his voice was fierce. It's not right. I don't want you to have to make sacrifices for me. I want to give you things, not take things away from you. I don't want to steal your future. If I were a human... I put my hands over his lips. You are my future. Now stop. No moping, or I'm calling your brothers to come and get you. Maybe you need a bachelor party. I'm sorry. I am moping, aren't I? Must be the nerves. Are your feet cold? Not in that sense. I've been waiting a century to marry you, Miss Swan. The wedding ceremony is the one thing I can't wait. He broke off, mid-thought. Oh, for the love of all that's holy! What's wrong? He gritted his teeth. You don't have to call my brothers. Apparently Emmett and Jasper are not going to let me bow out tonight. I clutched him closer for 1 second and then released him. I didn't have a prayer of winning against a tug-of-war with Emmett. Have fun! There was a squeal against the window. Someone deliberately scraping their steel nails across the glass to make a horrible, cover your ears, goosebumps down your spine noise. I shuddered. If you don't send Edward out, Emmett, still invisible in the night, hissed menacingly, we're coming in after him. Go, I laughed, before they break my house. Edward rolled his eyes, but he got to his feet in one fluid movement and had his shirt back on in another. He leaned down and kissed my forehead. Get to sleep. You've got a big day tomorrow. Thanks. That's sure to help me wind down. I'll meet you at the altar. I'll be the one in white. I smiled at how perfectly blasé I sounded. He chuckled, said, very convincing, then suddenly sank into a crouch. His muscles coiled like a spring. He vanished, launching himself out my window too swiftly for my eyes to follow. Outside there was a muted thud, and I heard Emmett curse. You better not make him late, I murmured, knowing that they could hear. And then Jasper's face was peering in my window. His honey hair silver in the weak moon... His honey hair was silver in the weak moonlight that worked through the clouds. Don't worry, Bella. We'll get him home in plenty of time. I was suddenly very calm, and my qualms all seemed unimportant. Jasper was, in his own way, just as talented as Alice with her uncannily accurate predictions. Jasper's medium was moods, rather than the future, and it was impossible to resist feeling the way he wanted you to feel. I sat up awkwardly, still tangled in my blanket. Jasper, what do vampires do for bachelor parties? You're not taking him to a strip club, are you? Don't tell her anything, Emmett growled from below. There was another thud, and Edward laughed quietly. Relax, Jasper told me, and I did. We Cullens have our own version. Just a few mountain lions, a couple of grizzly bears, pretty much an ordinary night out. I wondered if I would ever be able to sound so cavalier about the vegetarian vampire diet. Thanks, Jasper. He winked and dropped from sight. It was completely silent outside. Charlie's muffled snores droned through the walls. I lay back against my pillow, sleepy now. I stared at the walls of my little room, bleached pale in the moonlight from under heavy lids. My last night in my room. My last night as Isabella Swan. Tomorrow night I would be Bella Cullen. Though the whole marriage ordeal was a thorn in my side, I had to admit I liked the sound of that. I let my mind wander idly for a moment, expecting sleep to take me. But after a few minutes I found myself more alert, anxiety creeping back into my stomach, twisting it into uncomfortable positions. The bed seemed too soft, too warm without Edward in it. Jasper was far away, and all the peaceful, relaxed feelings were gone with him. It was going to be a very long day tomorrow. I think that's all I'm going to read for tonight, but we'll pick up tomorrow. This is so good. And it goes perfect with the book. It's the only way to enjoy the book. I've also got some goldfish crackers in this little cup. Thank you for joining me. YouTube is being kind of funny right now, so I'll upload this when I can. But I hope you're enjoying this as much as I am. It's kind of hard to put the book down, especially when it's this bad. Oh, God. But yeah, so I'll see you next time. Bye.